Hello, I'm Sarah and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you about my experience snorkeling in Key Largo, Florida. I will give just a basic overview of the tour that I experienced, who should not go on the tour, and just some general details to help you decide if this is right for you. So let's get right into it. A little bit about the Florida Reef. Now, I can be a little skeptical. I'm not gonna lie. I just really don't like when people set me up with sort of these exaggerated explanations and then I get there and I am let down. Looking at you, Tulum. So I'm gonna give it to you kind of how I understand it. So I recently heard that Florida's reef is the third largest barrier reef. Now, if you're skeptical, me too. So I looked it up. Okay, first point, it's barrier reef, not just coral reef in general. So we have the third largest barrier reef. Another type of reef that is common is called a fringe reef, which is basically any reef that's just right off the beach. You can just kind of walk into the water and bam, you're on the reef. So a barrier reef, obviously there's going to be some ocean between land and the reef. So in Australia, the Great Barrier Reef, in order to get to it, you have to get onto a boat. Similarly, the Florida Reef, you have to get onto a boat. Not similarly like they're comparable, but similarly, they're both barrier reefs, so just go with me. The other thing is, it's considered the only reef, the only living reef in the continental United States. That was really interesting that they specified living reef, because like, is there a dead reef somewhere? Basically, from what I could tell, there are sort of like old fossil type areas in various states that are dead, whereas in Florida, our reef is alive. I had read that it was the only reef in North America, but that is not true. In Central America, the Mesoamerican barrier reef is the second largest barrier reef in the entire world. So within North America, the continent, not just the region, you have the Mesoamerican barrier reef that stretches from Mexico to Belize. Then another thing to note is you can't really say that the Florida Reef is the only reef in the United States because there's Hawaii. In order to be truthful, the Florida Reef is the only reef in the continental United States. So, the Florida Reef is considered the third largest barrier reef in the world. I have snorkeled the Great Barrier Reef. I have snorkeled in Fiji. Did the Florida Reef impress me as much as the Great Barrier Reef or Fiji reefs? I ain't gonna lie to you. It was not as impressive or as colorful or as lively as those reefs. Now, that's not saying that there's parts of the Florida Reef that might be more lively than others. Overall, I do think that the Florida Reef has kind of been threatened, especially in more recent years, and they are working to restore it and to continue building upon it. So there is work being done, but yeah, if you have snorkeled really amazing reefs, I don't think the Florida Reef is going to wow you the same way. And I just want to be honest because I don't want you to get there and be like, she told me it was amazing. Now, if you've never snorkeled any reef ever, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a great experience. And if you are still interested in snorkeling the only living reef in the continental United States, the Florida Reef's got you, and it will deliver. All right, so why Key Largo? The Florida Reef does stretch from the Keys up north of Miami, yet from what I can tell, the Keys is generally kind of the place where people really explore the Florida Reef. It might be because it's better, it might be because it's just easier to get to, because like I said, it is a barrier reef, so you are gonna have to get in a boat. So yeah, it just may be more accessible in the Florida Keys. And if you didn't know this, Florida has hundreds of miles of beaches. However, the Florida Keys is not really a beach destination. It is more of a boating and boating activity destination. In general, the Keys, I think, are just more set up for tourism on boats. So I think that's mainly why the Keys are just such a great place to see the Florida Reef. Key Largo is one of the top places in the Keys to see the Florida Reef, and one of the, I guess, attractions for The Florida Reef is the Christ of the Abyss statue in John Pennekamp State Park. Now, obviously, they put it there, I think, in like the 1950s or 60s. So yeah, it doesn't really have a special story. I kind of thought it would. I kind of thought like it just somehow ended up there, but no, they actually put it there. They ordered it and they put it right there in the Keys. That is one of the main attractions. The tour that I did, I really liked that they took us to that spot. So we got those pictures, but then they took us to another area of the Florida Reef. I think it was called Horseshoe Reef. And that was beautiful. And I think actually a better reef than the reef by the statue. So if you don't do my tour, I would definitely try to make sure the tour that you do take takes you to another area of the reef and not just the one by the statue. Okay, so the tour that I booked had great reviews, and I will link it in the description as usual. It included so much with the price. So naturally in the States, tours do not run cheap. Travel in the States is not cheap, but I will say that this tour really did pack a punch and really made it, I think, a good value. So they will provide mask, fins, and snorkel for you. I took my own mask and snorkel because I bought it recently when I became scuba certified and I hadn't really used it. So I took my mask and snorkel with me, left my fins because they require booties and it's too hot for that. So I got their fins, but I took my own mask and snorkel. She did ask me if it was a full face mask and mine isn't. So if you do have a full face mask, there might be an issue with that. So just keep that in mind. They provide reef safe sunscreen. So yeah, you have all of your equipment. When you get onto the boat, there's a cooler and they have a sort of like a no-name brand soda options, and they have chips, and then they have a water station where you can either use kind of little paper cups or you can fill up your own water bottle. And then also if you wanted to keep your water bottle cold, you could use the cooler for that. So they provide all that. When you get on the boat, I would say 80% of the boat is shaded, which is really great. I did the afternoon tour, so I was looking for the shade. I know the Florida sun can be brutal. So that is definitely a huge plus, having the majority of the boat shaded. Now, this boat is a scuba diving style boat, and I do believe that they take scuba divers out. However, on the tour that I did, there were no scuba divers. I think some tours are including of scuba divers, so just keep that in mind. And then safety wise, they provide you with safety vests, which they do require for insurance reasons. They are not inflated safety vests, but they can be inflated should you run into any issues while you're in the water. And then of course they offer pool noodles in case you just want a little bit of extra buoyancy while you're out snorkeling. So all of that is provided, and then at their site they have bathrooms available for before or after the tour, and they have showers if you want to shower and change before you leave. So it is a really, really great option and really well set up. And the other thing that I really loved were the tents that they had with kind of misters around. So while you were waiting for the tour to begin, you can actually stay pretty cool under the shade, which is awesome, especially since it was July in Florida and it was so hot. And then once we got on the boat, it was probably only around 25 to 30 minutes to the reef. We got out there by the Christ of the Abyss statue, and they sent us out. We had, I think, about 40 minutes at the stop, which was plenty of time to swim over to the statue, take photos, enjoy it, swim around the reef in the area before heading back to the boat. I mean, literally plenty of time. I think I felt pretty good at around the 30-minute mark. You do not feel rushed. You get your full experience, and I'm so happy that we actually got there right before the scuba divers, so I was able to take my, a few photos or videos right before the scuba divers got there and kind of took away my photo ops. But anyways, so that part I liked. Then we headed back to the boat and headed to the other reef. That did not take very long in terms of a drive. I don't remember even how long, but it was less than 30 minutes for sure. And it was called Horseshoe Reef, I believe. And they explained kind of where we could snorkel to see various things. Like apparently sharks are spotted in this one area. Don't worry, I think I got over to the area, but I never saw any sharks. There were plenty of barracuda, but they did not bother us. Or me, I should say. And then there was a few other types of fish as well. Definitely did not see sharks. I would just say in general, the reef looked a lot better in this area, healthier. It was beautiful. I loved the reef in this particular area, and I also liked the fact that we were the only boat in this area. I think a boat was leaving as we were arriving, but that was a bonus for sure. And again, here we spent about 40 minutes in total enjoying the reef. Who is this tour not for? If you can't swim, this tour is not for you. And actually, when we all got on the boat, the captain made sure twice that everyone knew how to swim. So I think it's a problem. I think people do go on this tour not knowing how to swim. Kudos to your bravery, but not the tour for that. So you cannot stand up. This is a barrier reef. You are out in the ocean, and it's not shallow. So if something goes wrong, you can't just stand up. Like, you're not kind of walking into the beach. You're not close to shore. This is not the tour if you don't know how to swim. On top of that, I went out in the afternoon, and I know from just paddleboarding the Atlantic Ocean, if I go out in the morning, it's much calmer. But as soon as the winds start picking up, like mid-morning into the afternoon, it's a whole different ocean. So I went in the afternoon. There were swells, like swells. If you are not a great swimmer, they do have, obviously you're having to wear that sort of safety vest, but really if you're just not a good swimmer in the ocean, I would definitely recommend not doing this tour. And if you do want a calmer ocean, or ensure that you have a calmer ocean, I would definitely try to go more in the morning, because that'll increase your odds of having calmer waters. That being said, the water was clear and beautiful, and in general, it didn't seem like most people had any issues swimming around. I wouldn't say that the currents were strong at all. I think the currents were pretty minimal. It was just the swell that I personally was surprised by as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You're out in the ocean, you cannot stand up. Please know how to swim. If you are prone to motion sickness, and I have gotten motion sick a few times, including at the Keys a long time ago. So I've had my moments, and then other times I've been completely fine. I didn't end up taking anything for this tour, and thankfully I was okay. But there were other people who were definitely struggling. And if you remember, I said there was quite a bit of a swell. If you are like typically prone to motion sickness, or you just want to be cautious, take something before the tour. It will help a lot. I did see a couple people struggling, but I didn't see anyone vomit, so bonus. So when can you go snorkeling in Key Largo? The answer is anytime you want. It is a year-round destination. The only things obviously to consider are the fact that in June to October is hurricane season, so that could affect, your trip. However, it is very hot, and water activities are very welcome during those months. And if you wanted to go in the winter months, obviously the temperature will be a little bit cooler, but in South Florida, it stays pretty warm year round, and it's pretty random for it to get a cold front, but it can happen. So if you're a northerner and you head down, you're probably not gonna think anything of it, but just know that the temperature can dip. All right, what gear do you need? Nothing, everything's pretty much provided. Obviously, show up in your swimsuit. Bring maybe kind of some sort of rash guard or extra long sleeve cover up if you wanna be more covered while you're out. Bring a towel. You can bring a change of clothes if you want to shower and change after the tour. Oh, and the other thing you can bring is, like, I have an underwater case for my phone, so I can take pictures and photos, and I'll link that in the description if you'd like. All right, well, that is it for my snorkeling in Key Largo. I definitely think it's worth it. I love any ocean activity though, so that is coming from a girl who just loves to be in the ocean. All right, so I hope this video was helpful for you in deciding. As always, I'll link everything in the description, and that is it. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy travels. Bye. They provide reef safe sunscreen. Wow, say that 100 times fast. Reef safe sunscreen. They provide sunscreen that's safe for the reefs. Really, details. I'll leave all the description. As always.